My name is Alden MacDonald. I'm a certified executive chef and full-time faculty member in the Hospitality Leadership Program at Northern Michigan University. Today, I'm going to show you how to make Raita. Raita is a dish that's sort of like a condiment in Indian cuisine. It adds a lot of really good flavor components and can be served alongside of any sort of roasted meat or vegetable or vegetarian dish. It's really good and it's just good to eat. It's just good. So what we're gonna start with is our vegetables. So we have a cup of yogurt. It's good to have like a whole milk. You can use a non-fat or a low-fat yogurt. I like to use a whole milk yogurt because the flavor is so much better. This is a regular yogurt. You can also use Greek yogurt, but traditionally it's just a plain yogurt. In here, we're gonna add vegetables. So the first thing I'm gonna do is cut up some cucumber. We need about a cup of cucumber. I can tell you this cucumber is too big, and I don't want to be wasteful. So I'm going to trim my ends off a little bit here, off to the side. And I know I'm only going to need about half this cucumber, so I'm going to save this for later. Now, whenever you're cutting a vegetable, you have to be really careful about being safe, okay? So the first things first. Finger, thumb, wrap your hand around. This is how you hold a chef's knife, this type of knife. This is a santoku, but it's a type of chef's knife. This is how you hold your knife. There's no other way. Don't point at your food. It's rude. You go out like this, okay? The next thing is this rolls. We don't want it to roll. That's not safe. So the first thing I'm going to do when I cut up something like a cucumber is I'm going to cut that off and I create a nice flat surface. It's not going anywhere. Much safer. From there, I just want to cube up my cucumber. So I'm cutting it. Notice my fingers are curled back so I don't cut my fingers. Then I go over here, do the same thing. Here. Now I have little strips. I want to do the same thing here. If your vegetable is too big for you to be comfortably handling it, cut it into a smaller piece before you start cutting it up. It's totally okay to do that. I do that a lot of time with like carrots, cucumbers, that kind of stuff. I won't try to cut the whole thing all at once. I'll cut it into a smaller piece so that I am being safe, because it takes a lot longer to clean up after you've cut yourself than it is just to be a little bit safe and go a little slower. Okay, so I'm just going to dice these up. Notice again, my left fingers are all curled back so that there's no chance of me clipping my tip of my finger or my thumb. There we go. And this goes right into our bowl. The trick with any side of cutting vegetables is, even if you don't have perfect little squares, like mine are really, really square, but that's because I have 28 years of practice, is just make sure they're all about the same size. That's really important whenever you're making anything, especially when you're cooking your vegetables. It's really important. This isn't getting cooked, but it's important because then they cook evenly and you'll have a better flavor development. Okay, the next thing I need is some tomato. Again, I don't really need this whole tomato. So what I'm going to do is, and I like to use every part of the tomato. So if you notice when I'm cutting this up, I cut the little core out. That's the only part of the tomato that I'm not going to use. These little pieces here, I just want them to be about the same size as my cucumber. So these top pieces, I go like this. My knife is very sharp. If you don't have a very sharp knife and you think it's going to catch on those tomato skins, flip them over like this. Okay, that way it cuts through the flesh of the tomato, then the skin, and not the other way around. And that will be safer for you, okay? You can do that with green peppers as well. So I'm going to use about half this tomato. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half, and I'm going to save it for later. And then this piece here, I just want like same size as my cucumber. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm just gently cutting this. Notice even my really sharp knife need a little encouragement there. That's okay. Get through those skins safely and then go rest through the tomato. With your slippery vegetables, it's easier to cut your fingers, I'll tell you what. So just be careful. Okay, so this goes in here. Boop. You have to make that noise when you put things in a bowl. Okay, last thing is I just need a little bit of red onion. This is way too much red onion. This is a beautiful big red onion. I don't need all this. But again, I am not going to waste that red onion. So I'm going to cut here. I'm going to cut this in half. I'm going to peel the skins off. And I already know that this half I don't need. So we're going to put this over here. And then this half I'm going to peel, and I only need 1/4 of this onion. If I put all this onion in here, whew, that's a lot of onion. And we don't need all that onion. So I'm going to cut this in half again, and I'll save this. Notice I keep the core intact, and the reason why is the core will hold the onion together so that when you go back to use it some other time, you'll have this together and it won't be like falling apart, and it'll be easier to cut. So now I have this bit left. I want to go ahead and cut this to be actually a little bit smaller. I don't like big chunks of onions in my things. I like small little pieces of onions. So what I'm going to do is I actually take my board and put it on the edge, and I take my knife and run it through like this. And what that's going to do is going to cut across those sections, because, you know, onions are like kind of circular, right? They're like more like a globe than they are like anything else, and they have layers. Like, you know, in Shrek, onions have layers. So then I cut across this way, and then I want to be able to have the same size, so then I go ahead and cut this way, not cutting all the way through my onion. And that's going to set me up to have nice small pieces of onion like I want in my raita. So then I go here this way, and as you can see, all my nice little pieces fall apart. They're all about the same size. Lovely. Now, I don't like to waste. So this part of the onion I still want, but it's hard, it's no longer safe for me to go this way. So I turn it over like this, and I just cut down to my root again. There we go. And then I go this way. And then this way. And I just keep cutting until all I have left is the little core. And the reason that's so important is because now I haven't wasted my onion. Okay, so my onion's cut up. Again, boop. Again with the noise. It helps, I'll tell you what. There we go. So we add this in here. And the last thing we're going to add is our cilantro. So there's great controversy about the cilantro stem. Cilantro stems are delicious, and if they're nice and tender, visually speaking in the chef world, we take them out. But at home, I leave my cilantro stems and things all the time because they taste good and I don't want to waste it. So what I do is I'm just going to trim off the ends here that are, you know, browning, and we don't want that part. And then I love cilantro. So if you're one of these people who doesn't love cilantro and it's soapy, sorry, there's lots of cilantro in this. So I took this and I just cut it in half. Like I said, I like to keep my stems in there because it just is lots of flavor, and I like to utilize every little bit of my vegetables that I can. Waste not, want not, right? So I chop that up, just running my knife through. Again, a very sharp knife is very helpful. Also, before you do this part, and I did this off camera before we started filming, is go through and be picky about your herbs. Your herbs will be the first thing in this that'll start to brown or rot. So you don't want any sort of browning or yellowing herbs, fresh herbs, in anything that you're cooking. So I went through and picked all that out ahead of time, and make sure you do the same. Be picky. Pun intended. Okay, so then I'm gonna get the rest of this in here. Now my hands are covered in cilantro, so I'm gonna take these gloves off because I'm done with the cutting part. I always like to wear gloves when I'm doing this because this is all ready to eat food, and I don't want to pass any of my germs on to anybody else. So I got a little bit of cumin and a little bit of cayenne. If you're not a big spice person, don't add as much cayenne. I love spicy food. Okay, I got some salt. Just sprinkle my salt in there. Again, this is ready to eat food, so I don't want to add my germs to that. It's not getting cooked again. And then I'm just going to mix this up. And it makes this nice, creamy, crunchy, really fresh tasting sort of relish that's delicious with cooked meat. This is amazing with like a grilled chicken. Oh, it's so good. Okay, and if you want to brighten that up a little bit, you could actually add a little lemon to that. It'd be delicious. Okay, we're going to taste it for our salinity here. It's just right. Little bit of that yogurt, the creaminess, a little bit of spice on the end. I can taste the garlic, just enough salt to bring out the flavors of the cilantro. The cucumber, I can taste it already because the juices in the tomato. And that's raita. It's very simple, delicious.